and firm reports about scouts being sent to who? The name that I never pronounced right.
Oh, it's Szoboszlai from.
So there looks like
Leipzig.
there's something there, but again, it goes back to the budget, and do you splash all your budget, which we believe it's going to be 100 million or so. That's what sources are leading everyone to believe. I mean, that's going to be a big chunk of your budget, but that's the quality you're after, isn't it?
Yeah, it all goes back to what Howe wants to do. Does he splash out on 2 or 3 big names, which he is sort of insisting he wants to do. He doesn't want a big grand revamp. He just wants 2 or 3 sort of big changes. But again, that means, does it leave them a little bit short in depth? That's the dilemma that we keep going back to. But it would take a lot out of the budget to go for the Leipzig attacker.
Onana is another one that's been linked from Everton. He's looked really decent. He cost Everton a lot of money, but he has looked at a good player. And we know they're looking in that area of the pitch. He'd fit that Newcastle United squad perfectly, I think, because he's got the running about him, and that's what you need in that kind of area of the pitch. I think that would be a good signing.
Yeah, big presence, very young, fits the profile. Fantastic first season in England. I think if Everton had went down, that would have been an absolute cracking buy. I think that now they've stayed up. Maybe
he looks around and thinks, I want European football. I mean,
yeah, maybe.
The Courier's out of contract, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it could be, when they have to be clever, there are quite a few players you look at and think, you could sign him for a year or two. I mean, the goal that he scored to keep Everton up was absolutely fantastic. You look at Leeds, Rodrigo, Tyler Adams, there's options there that they could go and not cost the earth. I mean, Declan Rice has been linked as well, but he's been linked to Bayern Munich and Arsenal, so it shows you the competition Newcastle are going to have.
Yeah, I mean, and Rice, I think if we're talking about Szoboszlai breaking the bank, Rice is probably their budget and a little bit extra. Yeah, a lot of players, as we keep touching, don't be afraid to go and buy from relegated teams. A lot of this Leeds team, it's coming out in the last couple of days that they've got, relegation clauses. Jack Harrison being one of them, Brendan Harrison being another. Leicester, we don't really need to talk too much because we already know Maddison,
you take
Barnes,
Harvey Barnes and James Maddison.
100%. If I'm being completely honest, Iheanacho, very good player. Ricardo Pereira, right back. There's some very, very good players in that Leicester team. Still can't believe how they've actually gone down. They've got to be clever. There's a lot of free agents out there. I mean, already I think agents are probably going to be on the phone talking to them. Liverpool have let 4 or 5 big names go. Tottenham have obviously already touting sort of Lucas Moura around. There's going to be a lot of free agents that you look at. Think they could do a job if the wages aren't too high.
Yeah, as our colleague Lee Ryder reported last week, Newcastle had been offered Lucas Moura. He scored a fantastic goal for Spurs, didn't he?
Yeah.
Written in the stars, that one. And he might not excite players too much, but he certainly just fills a gap, doesn't he? And this is what it maybe Newcastle United need to do. It's not all about building for the future. They're going to have to sign some players which are maybe a bit of a stopgap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to add a nice blend of experience and youth. I think going into the Champions League, I mean, look, Lucas Moura is the perfect example because he's getting on a little bit. He hasn't really been in the Spurs team for a while, but Champions League experience, he fills a gap in a position they probably need another body in right midfield. He's Brazilian. It ticks a lot of boxes. If he's not going to demand too much of wages, it's a deal that makes sense. It keeps the costs down. I wouldn't be against Lucas Moura at all.
And another transfer line from our chief sports writer, Ryder, is that Newcastle are expected to be offered the chance to sign Ferran Torres, moved from Manchester City to Barcelona, but he's out of contract, I think, next season, so that he could be available for around 30 million or so. And also in that same article, Newcastle sent scouts to Wembley to watch the Championship playoff. And one name that has been linked is the big striker up top for Coventry, Victor Gyökeres. Totally pronounced that wrong. Do I have a go?
Don't ask me how to say that. I'm
right.
Sorry.
24-year-old, 21 goals, 10 assists this season. Interestingly, at our live event last Thursday, the BBC Radio Newcastle's Matthew Raisbeck said he was a big fan of him, and he thinks that because Newcastle are going to have to be clever with the budget, actually looking down at Championship sides isn't going to be off the table, because just because they haven't played Premier League football, I mean, it's a big step up, but there are some gems in the Championship who just need that opportunity.
Absolutely. I think you look at some of the players that have been in and around the playoffs, even the likes of, I know Alex Scott at Bristol City has a lot of suitors from big Premier League teams. There's definitely young talent to poach there. And again, if it's going to keep the cost of the budget down, I don't think they should be afraid to do so.